Hi guys, welcome back to another installation. We are going to talk tonight about calf cramps. My name is Dr. Heather Moore, owner of Total Performance Physical Therapy. Right now, you may be watching this video when it's not warm out, but as of right now, it is getting hot and cramps become more of an issue. So cramps are a lot of times associated with dehydration. So normally we see them a lot more in the summer, but what if that isn't the case? What if you cramp all year round? What if you can just point your toe and get a calf cramp? So tonight we're going to talk about why do you get calf cramps, and we specifically went with calf cramps because that's probably the one muscle I get asked the most. I mean, you can get a cramp in any muscle, but calf cramps seem to be the most general muscle I get asked about on why I get I'm going to say that a million times and I mess up. Calf cramps. And you can get them when you're running, you can get them when you're laying in bed, you can get them just pointing your toes, you can get them when you're walking. So incidentally, the last time I was out at the Olympic Training Center, I actually got a 911 call to get to the pool because of a calf cramp. And it was so severe, the girl couldn't walk on it, she needed crutches. They can be utterly painful. They can render you unable to walk. So it is not uncommon to have this so severe you wind up in tears. Most people, if they get a really bad calf cramp, think they actually tore the muscle. Most of the time this is not the case. And unless you tear your Achilles tendon, which is down here, and you'll know if you tear your Achilles tendon, there's not a whole lot of difference that we do for treatment when you get a tear versus a cramp. So cramps can be severe. It can feel like your muscle is tearing apart. It can be hard to put pressure on your leg. It can be hard to take any steps. Sometimes you only can just kind of hobble around on your toes. Sometimes you even need crutches until the calf calms down. So why effectively do you get cramps? So there's a number of reasons. The first one I said right off the bat, dehydration. If you wind up getting calf cramps quite frequently or in both legs, you want to look at dehydration. Another thing they say is look at potassium, which is true. I usually say you want to refer to dehydration and potassium when you're getting them both in both legs consistently. Usually bilateral or both sides being affected, both sides cramping, are a sign of more of a systemic issue, more of an electrolyte imbalance or a dehydration issue, or something that you need to eat a banana for or drink some water. Usually things occurring bilaterally mean that there's a systemic issue. Not all the time, but that's generally one of the guidelines that I go by. But if you are insisted that you are drinking your 64 ounces of water and you're totally up on all of your vitamins and minerals and you're eating enough potassium and that's not it, why do they cramp? So there's a whole lot of reasons why they cramp, honestly. So swimmers, when I got called to the pool at the Olympic Training Center, swimmers are very, very prone to calf cramps. I think to this day I can point my toe hard and get my calf and my foot to cramp. When you wind up pointing your toe for an extended period of time, what happens is if you don't properly foam roll the area, if you don't properly stretch, you wind up with knots in that muscle. Now for me, when you swim and you point your toe, you're constantly contracting that muscle. So it is very easy, and I never stretch and I never foam roll when I swam. Like, truth be told, I didn't do it. I was 18 and totally infallible. So what would happen is if I pointed my toe really hard, all of the knots that were existing throughout my foot and throughout my calf would cramp up. And it would cause a severe cramp, which is why a lot of swimmers get them, because we push off of our toes. So same thing in running. Every time you run, every time you take a step, you're actually pushing off your toes. So you are causing a significant contraction to your calf. Now, if there's knots in that calf, meaning a knot is just the muscle that is ready to contract, all right? So if you put more force through that and you're asking an already tight muscle to contract even harder, that's when you wind up with a cramp. It is not uncommon to get one when you're running because, again, you're constantly pushing off on your toes. If you diligently foam roll and you feel that you have some knots, some trigger points in your calf or in your foot, you're actually set up to get a calf cramp because those muscles are already short. All a cramp is a muscle shortening. And what happens is it stays short and you wind up, it's unable to release because of a whole lot of different mechanisms we're not going to go into, nor are you interested in. But it won't release until you stretch it, until some blood flows to the area. So when that muscle is already short, when you have knots, it's going to cramp. Another part of that equation is it's also because, a lot of times, because of weakness. So most people don't quite understand that their calves can still be weak even though they walk on them or they run on them. If you don't do specific strengthening to the front of your shin and to your calf, a lot of times you're going to wind up with calf cramps. And the problem with the calf is there's a lot of different heads to the muscle. So when you go up on your toes, you're going to wind up generally either going to the outside or to the inside of your foot. So you're going to notice when you come up on your toes, you're either going to have the weight in your pinkies or you're going to have the weight in your big toes. And it is going to, depending on which side you wind up on, will depend on which head of that gastroc, which head of that calf that you work harder. A lot of times what happens is if you go out for a trail run or you go out and you walk on different surfaces, you're going to actually work both of those heads because your foot is constantly moving like this. So you're overworking the weak side. It's going to cramp. The second biggest muscle in the body to cramp is your bicep, only because it's got multiple heads, and if you work one of them that's a little bit, the weaker one, you're going to wind up with cramps. A cramp is just an overworked muscle that doesn't relax. So you have weakness, you have tightness, and you have dehydration or some sort of potassium imbalance. You also, when you get a calf cramp, could have improper footwear. So you could be winding up with walking with bare feet. We see a lot of this when flip-flop season comes on because a lot of people, believe it or not, don't have the foot structure to actually walk in bare feet. And I know there's a ton of barefoot runners out there that will argue with me and whatever. But a lot of people don't have the proper foot structure to be in bare feet, nor do they actually have the strength to be in bare feet. So what happens is you wind up using your muscles a lot, what we call our intrinsic muscles, our little muscles in our feet, to either keep the flip-flop on the foot, keep the flip-flop from falling off, or just walking over terrain. All of these muscles start to get overused and overworked, and you're like, oh, all I did was walk, for 15 minutes on the beach. Yes, but you didn't walk for 15 minutes on the beach until, 6 months ago. So you wind up working those muscles that are really small, and you wind up working them too hard. That causes cramps. That'll cause your foot to fatigue. That'll cause your calf to work harder, and that will cause cramps. So it is a very difficult thing to nail down one exact reason why you're having calf cramps, but a lot of people have them, and they are very, very, very easy to get rid of if you actually know what you're working on. So I'm going to show you just a couple of quick things you can do to start eliminating those calf cramps. First of all, don't go around in bare feet. Wear your sneakers. And I know here where I am right now, it's summer, it's sunny, and I get into a flip-flop argument all the time with people. But honestly, if you can avoid bare feet when you're at home and save those flip-flops, you're going to reduce the amount of calf cramps that you have. And if you get them severe enough, it's going to be worth it to you to wear that supportive shoe. Your foot needs help. Your foot needs help to work, to run, to be able to move. So if you are getting calf cramps, and that could be one of the reasons, you can get a towel and you can actually put it just on the surface, and you can do what we call the towel curls. So you just grab the towel with your toes, and you can just do this for a minute. It's a very mundane and very boring exercise, and people don't always enjoy it. I get it, but it's going to help those little muscles in the foot, and it's going to help them be stronger. The next thing you can do, and these are not while you're getting a calf cramp, this is while you are, and this is when you are in periods of calmness, is make sure that you stretch the calf. So you can just simply put the calf behind you, keep the foot straight, or Keep the heel flat on the ground, and then just lean forward. You should feel a nice stretch in the calf. If you don't, you can put your foot up on a step. You can put it next to a wall, lean forward. Again, you're gonna feel that stretch down the back of the calf. Now to get really specific with this, you can turn your toe in, and you can feel a stretch on the outside of the calf, and then you can turn your toe out, and you can feel a stretch a little bit more on the inside of the calf. Those are two just stretches that you can do, and you can do those all day long. So if you suffer from calf cramps, those are things you can do. Obviously, when your calves are contracting, you don't want to do a stretch. It's the last thing you want to do. It's going to hurt. You probably can't even do it anyway. When you're suffering from a cramp, you literally just want to rub it out. You want to try and get that knot to relax. You want to send signals to that knot to calm down. So as you are rubbing it, and a lot of times people can't even touch them, they're so sore, but that's the best thing you can do, is just to rub it and relax it. The final thing is you want to strengthen the front of your calf, and you want to, well, the front of your shin, and then the calf muscle. So one of the things you can do very easy is just tap your toes. A lot of people find, we'll laugh at this. If you do this for a minute, most people fatigue doing this. And it's like, oh my gosh, most people fatigue within the first 15 seconds. You go out for a 10-mile run and yet you can't tap your toe for a minute without it fatiguing, there's a big warning sign there that you don't have the strength to balance out your calf and your calf's working too hard. So if you can't do this for a good minute solid, a couple times in a row, and not fatigue and not feel like, oh my gosh, my shin is on fire, you're setting up yourself for shin splints and you're setting up yourself for calf cramps. So again, it's a very easy exercise to do while you're sitting, while you're standing, and a lot of people start to feel the burn within 10 or 15 seconds and then come and ask me, why do I get calf cramps when I run? You can't tap your toe for a minute, yet you want to run 10 miles. Muscle imbalance is huge when it comes to calf cramps. Then you do want to make sure that your calf is strong. Ideally, you're doing one-legged calf raises, okay? You can hold on to something. This is not a balance exercise, but you're just coming up onto your one foot as high as you can and then back down. If you want to get really specific, again, you're going to turn your foot in so you get a little bit more of the outside, and then you're going to turn your foot out and you're going to get a little bit more on the inside. Pay attention when you come up onto your toes. Are you rolling in the middle? Are you rolling off to the side? Are you rolling to your big toe? Because that's going to affect which head of the gastroc, which head of that calf you are doing. Again, a lot of you will do this for a minute and you'll start to fatigue. Now explain to me how you run 10 miles and can't do that for a minute without fatiguing. I mean, I can explain it to you. It's called compensation. It's why your knee can get jacked up and your ankle can get jacked up and you can wind up with a lot of calf cramps. All right, this should be, if you're running over 3 miles, doing this slow, not like this, but doing this nice and slow for a minute should be easy. Should not be hard at all. Because every time you push off the ground, that's all you're doing. Running is a one-legged push-off. So if you are unable to do this nice and slow for a minute, then there's a problem. You're going to wind up with shin splints, you're going to wind up with knee pain, and you're going to probably wind up with hamstring and back issues too. So these are just little things that we gloss over, we ignore. No runner likes to strength train. Nobody really likes to strength train, especially calf raises. They're incredibly boring. But it's really important that you isolate one at a time, because if you do this, you're going to put the one leg that's stronger, and everybody has one dominant leg. The leg that's stronger is going to kick in, and it's going to help out more. All right? You should do these nice and slow. It's a good fitness evaluation. Can you go up and down nice and slow for a minute? And truth be told, you should be able to do 3 times per minute without really fatiguing if you're a long distance runner, or at 3 miles. 3 miles is a lot. So, but that is the reasons why you will get calf cramps. Those are some of the ways that you deal with calf cramps. If you are a habitual calf cramp person, it is something that you do need to get evaluated. You don't want to gloss over it for too long, because you're probably compensating, which is why they continuously happen. If you would like and you need a free consultation, all you have to do is call our office at 215-997-9898, and we'd be happy to give you a free consultation and let you know why you are having calf cramps. Thanks, and have a good night.